YouTube going. The Goat House is back. We are officially into the NFL offseason. Today I have likely NFL trade candidates with potential landing spots, potential trade value, and some predictions. Our next video will be more of the blockbuster type scenarios in candidates. So excited about that. Excited about all of our offseason coverage here. We already have a lot of it on the channel. More to come. Help us get to 100K subscribers. Almost there. Appreciate the support. Follow us on Twitter. Very important. Links pinned in the comments. First one, Assan Reic. Super Bowl Sunday, the morning of Super Bowl Sunday, it was announced that the Eagles are allowing Reddick to seek a trade, which was not the news I was expecting that day, or really at all this offseason, but Eagles are kind of loaded in the defensive front, got an expiring contract here, not this year, but one more year left, and then maybe they got to focus a little bit more at linebacker, safety, player positions like that, so I guess it could make some sense. We were talking about a lot on Twitter, where Reddick can go. Those are my favorite landing spots. Of course, I can sit here and for a lot of these guys. Some of these guys I can list almost half the league. More than these teams will be interested. I can promise that. But these are my favorite. A lot of people will talk about the Cardinals because Jonathan Gannon's there. Assan Reic had even though he didn't win the award, he had a Defensive Player of the Year type year under Jonathan Gannon, and the Cardinals could use him. But they might just continue to go the younger route. Rather than getting a veteran and extending him long term. So it's a possibility. I just think these are the more likely landing spots. Ravens, Lions, Texans, Seahawks, Rams, Falcons. A mixture of teams that have cap space, could create cap space, have a need at the position, a good fit, could make it happen. Trade value is a little tough. I think his talent, like his skill, says more than like a third round pick. Like a second round pick makes some sense, but yeah, they're kind of allowing him to seek a trade. There isn't teams calling them, about it yet. Maybe that drops leverage a little bit. Expiring deal. He doesn't fit everyone. Remember, he kind of struggled for a little bit. He was playing out of position, but not everyone views Assan Reic as a fit on their defense. Some will say maybe he just kind of benefited from being in that Eagles defense and what's around him. I don't really agree with that. I think he's a hell of a player, but some teams will think that. So I think a third-round pick, it could be a lone third-round pick if it's early, or it could be a third-round pick plus a day 3 pick. So a little bit of a prediction. It's hard to narrow down to one team. I mean, I could do that, but I like the Lions and the Ravens. Those two teams stand out a lot. I mean, I like some of the other teams too. I mean, the Texans, under D'Amico Ryans, I think the opposite of Will Anderson, that makes a lot of sense. If the Seahawks clear more cap space, they could be interested. The Rams and the Falcons be looking for a pass rusher, but Lions and the Ravens stand out the most to me. It's a Ravens move. That's why the Ravens. They need a pass rusher. It's a Ravens move to trade for a guy who has one more year left on his deal. But yeah, kind of backing up a little bit. If the Eagles were to keep him and lose him in free agency next year, they would probably get a third or fourth round compensatory pick in the future. So I think the value would have to be around there. But the Ravens are kind of famous for getting guys specifically off the edge, guys like that. And if they're great, they extend them. If they're not, or if they're just good, they kind of let them walk the next year when their expiring deal is up. So it just kind of feels like a Ravens move. I like the Lions a lot as well. This team is kind of taking that next step, not just from building to the draft. Let's go get some ball players that are ready to help us win right now because we are that good. We are that close. We were that close. So it would make sense. Their type of pass rusher here, they like doing different things with their pass rushers and not just a guy that's only going to rush off the edge. I think it'd be a good pairing opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I actually think you can pair them on the same side because Hutchinson sometimes will rush inside and he'll sometimes line up over the tackle, just inside the tackle, almost at D tackle sometimes because he's a unique player, is really good at rushing inside. So I think it works on multiple levels. I think they would definitely be interested. So the Lions feel like the best fit. They have cap space. They have the need. The Ravens are more so. It's a Ravens move, that they could make. So that's why those are the two teams. When I was tweeting about it, I was really thinking Lions. In the back of my mind, I'm like, it's a Ravens move. I'm really thinking Lions with Assan Reic. But they also can go for maybe they'd rather go for a free agent, Daniil Hunter, someone like that. If they're able to get a Brian Burns, possibly. But we'll see. The Lions probably going to make some noise to kind of get them to that next step to be a legit Super Bowl contender. Talking about Justin Fields, a legit trade candidate that's being talked about. I think the Bears do take a quarterback first unless Caleb Williams refuses to play for them, and they don't like Drake May or Jaden Daniels, pick 1 or 2, or if they move. I think that's the only way they don't take a quarterback. But I think their mind is kind of set on we're gonna have someone else start. That doesn't mean they trade Justin Fields. They could. It's definitely a scenario. It's a realistic scenario is them drafting a quarterback early in the draft and keeping Justin Fields. That is realistic. Some people talk like it's one or the other. It's draft a guy and trade Justin Fields, or keep Justin Fields, do not draft one. I think there's a middle part there. I think that's a scenario. But there's a ton of talk on Twitter about this. There's a ton of talk just around the NFL about this. A trade is definitely possible. Teams will be calling. Bears will be listening. This is interesting. I don't think, in my opinion, I think what the people are talking about right now might be a little wrong. People are bringing up the Raiders and the Falcons the most. That's like who you hear about a ton. There's some rumblings about the Steelers, I think starting today, actually. But people are really bringing up the Raiders and the Falcons. And I don't view the Raiders as a landing spot for multiple reasons. They bring in Getsy as their offense coordinator, who is the Bears offensive coordinator. And Getsy tried to run a West Coast, a pro-style offense early in the year, and Fields was struggling in it, and so he kind of had to take plays off his play sheet, and they had to adjust the field strength, which makes sense if that's your quarterback, but I don't think he was running the offense he wanted to run, and I'm actually pretty confident with that. So that's one reason I don't think the Raiders would bring him in. Another reason is Aiden O'Connell was decent. That doesn't mean just go with him no matter what, but to me it's go with O'Connell unless you get some. I would rather, I'm a guy that's going to go big all the time at quarterback. But to me, it's go big or go O'Connell. Go big or stay home is really what it is. So Fields, you might as well go with O'Connell at that point. So I don't like the Raiders at all for him. Atlanta will put up here because they need a quarterback. They could look for a young one. Ryan Pace was on the staff who drafted Justin Fields. That's being brought up a lot. My knock on the Falcons is I don't know if he fits. I don't really think he fits the system, what they're trying to run there. You bring in Raheem Morris. He brings in another Rams guy, Zach Robinson. It's a McVay tree. It's a lot of another West Coast offense. You want a pocket passing quarterback that's going to stretch the ball downfield, which Fields has the arm strength, obviously, to do that. But it just doesn't really feel like a Zach Robinson, that McVay tree system type quarterback. It just doesn't feel like that to me. And I think chances are they're going to go for something like that. So I'm not as high on the Falcons' chances of getting Fields as everyone else. I think everything I'm hearing is Falcons and Raiders, and I disagree. I look at the Steelers, which are starting to get some talk right now. I think you can fit Arthur Smith's offense in Pittsburgh, and Trubisky got a former Bear, got a trial. It just didn't work out. They might have to cut him. They're not going to free much space with that. Besides the point, Mason Rudolph's a free agent. He helped them. He looks solid, but is he going to be the starter? When they're trying to make the playoffs, they do make the playoffs. Is he going to be the starter? So they could like to go with Fields, Pickett, pair those two together, have them battle for the spot. Commanders, if they decide they can't get a Caleb Williams at 1 and they don't like the other quarterbacks, potentially Fields can fit Cliff Kingsbury's offense. And I like the Giants too. I mean, they're going to be looking for another guy here. It could be in the draft. It's not going to be early in the draft. But to pair up Daniel Jones because he didn't play great. He had the injury concern, so they want to have like a safe, another option, kind of like a Tyrod Taylor, but preferably younger with more upside. I think Daboll can get the most out of Justin Fields. So that makes sense as, pairing with Daniel Jones. In Seattle, Drew Lock's a free agent. They have Geno Smith. It sounds like they're bringing in Ryan Grubb from Washington. So I think Fields can kind of fit that style of offense as well. So pair him with Geno. Those are teams that make sense to me. I don't know. I think people are kind of looking. I don't want to say they're looking in the wrong areas because there's things that make sense for Atlanta. But I think his value. A lot of talk about. I think Mel Kiper brought up. They think you can get a first round pick from him. I just do not see that at all. A guy that has talent, just got to put it together, but hasn't played a complete season. Like he has had injuries pop up in every season. Hasn't really been able to figure it out with some time. I just don't see it. I think that second round pick's possible. I think it's more likely to be a third round pick and, third and the fourth, third and the fifth, maybe players involved, something like that. I like the Steelers and the Giants the best. I think those two make the most sense. There's rumors coming out like Tomlin likes Fields, but what if they just go pick it and bring back Rudolph? That's a possibility as well. Giants make a lot of sense. You come in and battle with Daniel Jones. The downside of that is you're trading for him just to be a backup because, of course, they are going to start Daniel Jones to start the year. So those are the teams that stand out to me. I do people. There's a half the people on the world. I don't think it's really 50-50, I guess, but there's a group of people that say the Bears are taking a quarterback. They're going to trade Justin Fields. And the other people are like, no, Justin Fields got talent. He's got upside still. The Bears are going to keep him. They're not going to draft one. People really aren't talking about the middle. Like, they're going to draft one and they're going to keep Fields. I do think that's a possibility, more of a possibility than people realize. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen for sure, but that's my thoughts there. We'll talk about more about this in the future because I'm sure more and more rumors will come out on that. Another quarterback, Mac Jones, it's sounding like they can try to move on from him. If they cut him, they don't free a penny. They don't free anything. So just a roster spot. So I don't know. I don't really see the point of that. But I guess if it comes down to it, look to trade him. I think he'll have some trade value. I mean, it's probably going to be a day 3 pick. I think an earlier day 3 pick. His rookie year, he looked pretty damn good for a rookie. I don't think that happens by mistake. The talent's in there somewhere. The issue is he almost looks like he has the yips now. So could that just be completely gone? He's been pretty, like, this year was really bad. I expected more too. So based off this year, doesn't look great. But there's teams that will believe that they can, bring him into their system where they get more out of quarterbacks. They have better weapons. They have better offensive line. He still has upside. There's going to be some team, and he fits more systems. A guy like Justin Fields is better right now, probably has more trade value, but Mac Jones is going to fit more offenses out there. So some teams actually might prefer Mac Jones, believe it or not. I'm looking at teams that will want a backup for a backup that could possibly start in the future. So a lot of teams I can list here. Detroit stands out in that category too, like Detroit, Minnesota, LA, the Rams, those the Saints, I guess, fall in that category. Those teams would take him to learn from their current starting quarterback, possibly, and then start in the near future. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Other teams that are kind of desperate for a quarterback or a quarterback too stood out as well. Earlier day 3 pick, perhaps. I like the Broncos or the Vikings. I think Sean Payton would be interested, in getting him, and then he's kind of the starter until the draft. And it's kind of a mystery what they'll be able to do in the draft. They won't be able to be big spenders in free agency for like a Kirk Cousins or Baker Mayfield. So this makes a lot of sense for them. Sean Payton's confident in his offense. I think he'll think he'll be able to fix them. And the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, a free agent. I think with him not coming back or with him coming back, I think they possibly can bring in Mac Jones here. I think Kevin O'Connell will be confident he can get the most out of Mac Jones with the weapons they have as well in that style offense. So those are 2 teams that stood out, but there's a lot of teams I think would be interested, mainly for that possibly starts for us this year. Worst case, it's a solid backup that'll learn from somebody better than him, more experienced than him, in a solid offense. So that actually makes sense. I think teams will be interested in Mac Jones, so that's something to watch out for. Again, this video is the more likely guys to be traded or be tried to be dealt or things like that. Next video will kind of be the blockbuster things that actually could happen. I can't wait for that one. Another Patriot, Juju SmithSchuster. So it's a little tricky because he's on the video because I think the Patriots will definitely try to trade him. I know it's going to be a different system, different offensive staff in there, so they could say Juju could work out. He could definitely work out, but it didn't look great last year. Just didn't feel right, so they might just get him out of the organization, look to trade him. Teams could be interested because the talent's got to be in there. He definitely helped the Chiefs a year ago. I felt like they kind of missed him this year. Could the Chiefs bring him back? Because it'll be cheaper than he was on that when he first signed the contract with the Patriots. I think what Rashee Rice is becoming, which is better than Juju in a similar play style, that would be the argument against it. Titans could use that type of receiver that can play in the slot. The Texans, the Panthers, and the Falcons. Day 3 pick, the Patriots could look to unload him. This is tricky. I don't know if a team is dying to trade for Juju SmithSchuster right now. That's the issue. So this one may be a little less likely to actually happen than the other 2, but he's on the video because I definitely think the Patriots would try to trade him. Falcons actually stand out. I think he'd be pretty good in that style offense that they're changing to. And a slot receiver, to pair in there with a guy like Drake London. So that was the most likely. I'm not counting on a trade happen, but I think it's possible. Again, look out for the Patriots try to trade him. Jerry Jeudy's going to come up again. He comes up every year at every deadline. I definitely think it's going to pop up again. I think they'll probably keep Cortland Sutton. They'll probably look at free agency or the draft for receivers, and they could trade Jeudy while he still has some value and before he becomes a free agent. Like a third-round pick, could it be a little bit more than a third-round pick? A lot of teams here, some of the same teams that could use a receiver, could look to value Jerry Jeudy really. So, yeah, some similar teams we talked about for a receiver, and we added some there. You see them on your screen. But the Panthers and the Jets stand out. The Jets I think they're going to look to kind of go all out with adding receivers for Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of going to be a Super Bowl or bust feeling for the Jets because, I think some guys will lose their job if they don't perform at a pretty high level. And the Panthers need a receiver pretty badly. They probably want to keep it young. But they want somebody that's kind of proven a little bit. And remember, they don't have a first-round pick. You would think they could target a receiver with the first pick in the second round. That's not guaranteed. You don't know who's going to be on the board. But even if they get one there, they still need a receiver. They could sign some guys in free agency. Are they the most appealing spot? I think they could be with Canellis there. But I think it's a good opportunity to probably trade for one in Carolina, but you do want to kind of keep your picks at the same time, so we'll see. So Panthers and Jets, it's a tricky one because it's a long list of landing spots. And then speaking of the Panthers, Miles Sanders didn't really work out great for them. I'm sure he would be better under Canellis, but maybe he wants to go with a young guy. Maybe he goes with Hubbard. Maybe they want to get rid of that Sanders contract, which wouldn't be overly expensive for another team, but the other team's going to want to be confident that he would play better, more like the Eagles' Miles Sanders for them. Tricky, is another team dying to trade for him? That's the tricky part. Probably be a day 3 pick, maybe a later one. Texans, they might just bring back Singletary, but I think they would like Sanders. Tennessee, maybe they don't want to spend the 10, 11, 12 million on Derrick Henry. They want to pair Sanders with Tyjae Spears, perhaps. Vikings need a running back pretty badly. Ty Chandler looked pretty decent, but he's not your starter. He's not your every down back, in my opinion, but he's solid. Madison wasn't good this year. So they could look to get Sanders. Raiders, pair with Zamir White. Eagles. Yeah, Swift almost felt as good, if not better, but it also felt like the staff liked Sanders more than Swift. They trusted him more. That's what it felt like to me. Swift, the free agent. Maybe they bring back Sanders now. He's a little bit cheaper. And the Ravens, seems like a Ravens-type back. Are they going to value enough to trade for him, though? Back to the Eagles or the Vikings kind of stands out the most here. I'm not really counting on this one happening, but I think the Panthers will look around. Teams they'll show interest, but are they going to be dying to do it for it to happen? That's the question. So this video is kind of guys that I expect to be traded, guys that are like high up on likely they're being talked about a lot, or guys that I think teams will try to push out and we'll hear rumors about that. Again, the next video, which I already have planned, not recorded yet though, is realistic blockbuster trades. Because, remember when Tyreek Hill was traded, I was like, whoa, like I can't believe that happened. Like those have been happening like crazy. When Russell Wilson was traded, they've been happening like crazy, where it's like, so like the blockbuster, like surprise trades that actually could happen. And so that'll be kind of a bigger, more interesting video. But this video is centered around the more likely guys: Justin Fields, Assan Reddick. I think those were Mac Jones. I think those were the big ones of this video. So I wanted to get on and talk about that here as we are into the offseason now. We have recent free agency videos, draft videos, very useful for this time of the year. Check it out. We're always talking with you guys on Twitter. Our Twitter subscribers are getting previews like financial stuff, free agents for each NFL team. I'm still working on that, but some have come out. So link pinned in the comments for our Twitter, our sponsors. Check all those things out. Go to our channel. You will not be disappointed by the content. Help us get to 100K. Be much, much appreciated. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.